Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, everybody. Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. Welcome back to our podcast series. Today, or this week, I should say, we're going to talk about the Great Resignation and how it's not new. It really isn't. It's a complete myth that the Great Resignation is new. But furthermore, what I really want to get into is what to do about it. You are going to hear from myself and my friend and co-host in this series, JC, and we are going to go over the myth from people are lazy and do not want to work to the fact that we have less people in the USA of working age. Also, we're going to openly discuss how people are fed up with low pay, no advancement and development, and quite honestly, being treated like a cog that is abused, hopefully not at your organization. And then the last two sections of the podcast are going to discuss, what can we as employers, as leaders, as HR professionals do about it? And then finally, which is super important, how do you get your executives to listen and take action? Let's jump in.
Wendy, a lot of people have said time and again that they're finding, and we could say they, the proverbial they, you could Google it, talk to people around, read different articles, etc. But people consistently bring out the fact that newer people coming into the workforce are making more money now than something that has been offered on the table for that long-standing employee. Whereas if you are moving from job to job, sometimes it's much easier to climb the ladder. So when we think about the thought that, how'd that go again with the air quotes, that people are lazy and don't want to work, right? Well, maybe is it plausible that the people aren't lazy? It's just that they don't want to keep doing that same work for you for the lower rate of pay when you're not bringing forward a proper adjustment, a proper raise, or taking care of the employee.
Yeah, and it's a hard pill to swallow for any business owner, and I really do empathize with that, because if you were in business a couple years ago, whatever that might be, let's just say 5 years ago, it may have been acceptable at that point in time to pay somebody X because that's what your competitors were paying too. Right. Well, during this time period of the past few years, and with people moving all over the place, but inflation and cost of housing, cost of everything has increased, not just in the United States, but we are talking about the United States right here. But the cost of a lot of things have increased worldwide. And for whatever reason, employers, probably because they don't have the money and they didn't plan for it, they are saying, no, that's not what the value of your job is. And then employees are saying, okay, if you don't value me, I'll go find somebody else who does. Where are the employers getting this money from to magically increase everybody overnight? I have no idea. But what I do know is if your business plan is built on paying people the lowest possible amount you can, then you deserve to not have a great business outcome. And I know that sounds harsh, but that is what I truly believe. For the organizations that pre-pandemic said, I want to pay people what they're worth. I want to be an employer of choice. I want to have good compensation, good benefits, good culture, and treat my employees like humans. Guess what? They didn't have voluntary turnover, and they still don't.
It's been said numerous times that we have less people in the USA of working age. Baby boomers have retired. They're retiring. They're not being replaced. Is this factual? There was a recent blog post that you, the HR lady, Wendy Sellers, put out at thehrlady.com. Hopefully I said that right. I didn't do the dot too hard, like a Pennsylvania dot, right? But hey, thehrlady.com. And the title of the blog that you put out there is Wendy, where did all the people go? I can't find or keep staff.
Yeah, I was at a conference speaking in like March, probably February actually, and somebody asked this in the conference audience, and then I put this blog together, and then I continue updating it as I have more facts and more information. That individual was saying, people are lazy, and I'm like, I really don't think that's the case at all. And so at that point in time, I didn't have all the facts, so of course I put them together, but if you go on to census.gov, and this is in my blog as well, everybody who's listening, you go on census.gov, it says the number of births in the U.S. has been declining every year since 2008, except for one random year in 2014. So we'll just
it was a very good year. Right, it was a fantastic year.
I don't know what happened there, but since 2008, it is now 2022. So since 2008, there have been less births every single year. And so we as society had no intentions of replacing the baby boomers. We should have known that the baby boomers were going to retire. And we should, as workers, as employers, as companies, we should have been looking forward and said, okay, I have 5 baby boomers. I'm going to need to replace them in 5, 7, 10 years. I need to start a training program now. But what I find is the first thing that employers always remove from the budget when they're running out of money is training. So we'll hold that thought for a second. But according to census.gov, there were 700,000 fewer births in 2020 compared to 2007.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
that's a real stat.
It's a real stat. I'm not making this up.
Holy
I'm not
smokes.
making it up at all. So
they're not counting dog moms in this either. Right?
No. This is actual humans who eventually will turn, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, and you're going to want to hire. Oh, and on that same topic, before we get to the training and development, let's talk about hiring kids. So another part that I just posted something the other day, and people are complaining that you can't find retail and restaurant workers, right? Oh, we used to have 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. They don't want to work anymore. They're lazy. The interesting thing is they're not lazy. They might be, kids might be, but they're actually getting sucked up into the corporate world when they're teenagers. They're the corporate world.
Oh,
yeah, the corporate
like
world.
Through an internship type program or something of that nature?
Yep. Internship. Let me get you in here when you're 16, still in high school, get you in for the summer, get you in nights and weekends. We will train you. And if you choose not to go to college, you can start with us at 18 years old.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's step back and think about this for a second right here. Okay, it's currently 2022. There's a landmark year coming up ahead of us, and that year is 2034. You have 12 years. 12 years till the seesaw tipping point comes into effect, where Americans over the age of 65, there's going to be more of them. There's going to be more of them over the age of 65 than those who are 18 and younger. And Wendy's, I got that from your statistics here. You got that from the census, census.gov, I do believe, as well, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about that magic year, 2034. If you've got the corporate world procuring internships and recruiting from the young age, they're doing everything they can to bring them over to their side. Oof. How do you deal with that long-term plan right there?
It's tough. It really is tough. I mean, I'm one of those people that when just friends, whoever, folks in society are out complaining about something, I like to look up the facts and give it to them so they can stop that false information. But, for anybody who's never, heard, my background, I have 3 college degrees, and 2 of them were a complete waste. I mean, I had a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but, I didn't
Which
I think a lot
two?
of people-
The doctorate and the master? No, go ahead.
I have 2 masters and I have a bachelor's. But my bachelor's and my first master's were in a different industry. And I was just talking about this with a client this afternoon, and she was saying, you know, she's an HR professional, but she's like, no, I went to school for accounting. And I think it's just interesting. We asked these kids, and we were kids at that point, 16, 17 years old, to say, what are you going to do for the rest of your life? Now go to college for 4 years and invest $100,000 in it. And, you know, we don't know until we're older that that's something that I really wanted to do or not. Right. And we have this great amount of student debt. Because of how expensive college is now, many individuals are saying, I'm not going to college, or I'm going to get, you know, maybe certifications and licensures, or I'm going to go to maybe a trade school. And we need all those trades really, really bad. We need trades so bad because the baby boomers were, you know, the society or the community of trades, but they are retiring or have retired. So my point of sharing this again is because so many of employers, smart employers, are saying, we don't have the people. Yes, we've looked up the research. Baby boomers are retired. We don't have enough people to replace them. And even if we did magically find these humans, we have to train them. So we'll talk about training and development in our next segment. Let us go after the youngins and train them to see if they like this job. And then we will just train them internally and maybe send them off to some education or associate's degree or a degree later. But let's get them in now when they're young and excited to be here. But you got to be ready for that. You can't just wing it when you have a, you know, 16, 17, 18-year-old, heck, even a 25-year-old in who wants to say, yeah, put me in, teach me.
Next up, we are going to talk about how people are overall fed up with employers potentially abusing them. And we're going to discuss the 4-day, 5-day work week.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.